In this video, I'm going to explain how I translate songs from one language into another. This is the process I have used and will use for every song translation that I do. For demonstrative purposes, I'm going to be translating the first opening theme from Fire Force, which is a show that I have not seen. Step 1 of my process is learn. Learn the song in the source language. Because if I don't think that I can attempt to sing it properly, then I'm going to have no way to run quality assurance. I can count the syllables, but if it doesn't sound right, then it doesn't work. I'm not a trained singer, by the way. My entire singing background comes from theater. This early in the process, it's not really about being good. It's about whether I know the rhythm so that I can come back to it later. And I do. So we're going to set that aside for now and move on to step 2, which is translation. The source that I normally use doesn't have this song, and this is not as good of a website. There's a mistake right there. The important part is that I have access to the written lyrics. As long as I have the original text, I can reference their translation, yes, but more importantly, I can cross-reference with a little bit of legwork on my own. I am not fluent in Japanese, and the big reasons why are vocabulary and literacy. I've been studying Japanese for a few years. I know how the grammar tends to work, so I can understand things on a structural level, but I definitely need to use research to patch up the vocabulary. Now, what I generally do is, yes, I do use Google Translate. Ultimately, the important part is that I check as many places as possible and they all agree with each other. So I'll do this first verse line by line, and then I'll fast forward because most of this is kind of just boring. Terasu, that is a verb. Okay, thank you for copying a URL. Illuminate. Yami, that's darkness. Okay, darkness, illuminate. Terasu wa yami. The thing that is being illuminated is darkness. See, this is what we don't want from Google Translate, is entire phrases at once. I think this is 2 sentences. I'm gonna open a notepad so that I can just actually write out literally what's being said. Terasu wa yami, basically talking about lighting up something that's dark. This seems to be as close to a literal translation as is available. I'm not familiar with this specific grammar. Next part, bokura wa, it's just we, like first person plural as the topic of a sentence. So, moving down one, we have this verb, which is walk, attached to this verb. Narete, get used to. Is that narasu or nareru? Nareru, right? Okay. Yep, right. So it's bokura wa aruki, we're walking, and then this is a phrase. This verb, narete, got used to. This is in past tense, and it's attached to days. That's day. That is a repeater, which functions as a plural in this case. Mo also, and then this is a word, right? Tota, what does that mean? Stop pasting your stupid URL. Selection. In what sense? Natural selection. Okay, so this is the negative type of selection. What did they have this as? Oh, their translation doesn't actually clarify that part. Interesting. So we have walking, days we've gotten used to, and we have culling. That's yume. Yume wa antai na. Right. Yume wa antai na kurashita ga. That's dream. Antai. Okay, thank you, Google Translate. Safe. And to double check, yeah, secure. Okay. Where are we at in the middle of this line? Yume wa antai na kurashi. Okay. This kanji means a bunch of things. Oh, that's interesting. Dusk. Kurasu. Yeah, Wiktionary is far more reliable. What do they have down as? Living in a dream may be peaceful. Okay. That's not a horrible translation, but it could be more specific. Yeah, probably this definition then. Okay. Shigeki busoku yue ni daradara. That is... I'm gonna figure out what this is first. Lazy. Is that referenced in their translation? Yep. Okay. Wiktionary is more reliable overall, but they tend not to have katakana terms. Okay, how many words is this? 3? This is where my inability to read kanji is gonna hit me. I don't know where to break these out. I'm assuming it's 2, 2, 1. Yep, shigeki. Yeah, okay. Oh, I see. Fusoku, lack. Shigeki busoku, a lack of motivation. This is pronounced fu, but because it's sung as bu, that means it's a compound word. The first syllable it took on voicing because it's a compound word, rather. The last word in the verse that I don't know, late. You and me, therefore. Weird, okay. Google Translate's being inconsistent. What else is new? What does this kanji mean? Late as in deceased. I don't think that's the right. Okay, you and me, therefore. Interesting. Yeah, it's just therefore. So, the translation that this source put forward is, it lights up the darkness, we walk through those familiar days, living in a dream may be peaceful, but we become lazy from not being stimulated. There's a few ways to translate that word. Not a terrible translation. I see how they got it. What I have down currently is that the darkness is illuminated, we walk in days that we got used to, and selection. I'll figure that out in a bit. Dreams are a secure place to spend your time, and a lack of motivation makes one lazy. Those are the 4 lines as literally as I can get them. I'll do the rest. Okay, I've gone through everything and I've made my translation notes. They are very rough because I was focused more on writing down as much information as I was able to than actually making it legible. Now that I have all that information, it's time for step 3, which is arrangement. I'm going to take all of the English information that I have established and fit it into the actual melodic structure of the song. And what that boils down to is effectively rearranging the sentences. Well, sentence is a bit of a strong word for what I have so far. The main thing that happens here is I make sure that I know what rhythm I'm working in for each line, and then I either compress or expand the lyrical information that I need to put into that line so that it fits properly, if that makes sense. Of course that makes sense. This is the most self-explanatory step. It's, hey, here's everything I'm talking about, now make it sound good as a song. I think sometimes people who are translating music skip to this step, and a little bit of information gets lost on the way. I try to avoid that where possible, and I think that this song is simple enough in terms of structure and content that I can actually get pretty much everything. Tarasu yami. That's our first phrase. Tarasu yami. A light that shines into the dark. That's the full line, so we need to make up for the pronoun that's at the end of that. Right, anyway. Skipping forward, because there's not a whole lot to explain at this step, I ended up with this sheet of lyrics, which, it's not perfect, it could be improved, but for one sitting, as a demonstration, I'm happy enough with it. And then that's usually the end of the process, because I've been doing this for a long time just to practice with languages that I am trying to study. But now I have a YouTube channel, to which I have already uploaded one song translation. It was a joke. Anyway, I don't know how to end this video. Light that shines into the dark. We only walk along the days that we know by heart. We can dream up lives of safety, but with nothing motivating us, we're just lacking up. There's a light shining into the dark. What happened to the path that we've been learning from the start? Time to time, the times annoy us, but just wrap a bit of warm around and move on. The fire's rising up, and we're leading the way. All the kindness I remember in a melo-day. Eternity's a fantasy, a fake so they profess. I tell myself it's fine and try to laugh like all the rest. Eventually the shining now, the light will finally fade. Our flame of life will be extinguished, but until that day arrives, we're walking toward our fate. The sounds of our amusements and the fleeting pain we lose the magic to. It's all a treasure that I wanna hold on to. Eternity's a fantasy, a fiction so they claim. Our flame of life will be extinguished, but until that day arrives, walk onward all the same. Okay.